Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of Unbiased America Live. We're back with our normal panel. We do not have a guest tonight. As a matter of fact, actually, we have a guest because Kevin's been fired, and now he's just a guest.
I'm back on.
But he's here. He has a really long brim hat on, like the kid in Sandlot. But we're happy to have him. Also, we're here with Grant Phillips, who writes for Modern Libertarian. You came up with some stuff this week that was pretty good. Okay. And we are capitalists. We'll talk about your piece a little bit later. We'll get into that. Also, we're here with Matt Palumbo, who wrote a book called In Defense of Classical Liberalism, and you have a chapter on our topic that we're going to talk about, which is right, Matty?
Yep. Corey actually wrote it, but I mean, obviously familiar with the arguments.
Okay, so Corey wrote it. It's in your book. And we're also here with Kevin Ryan, the purveyor of Unbiased America Live, and Josie Wales will be what is it called? Video bombing?
Yeah.
Video bombing the show because we're here for a friend's birthday. There she is. Say hi, Josie. You came out with a piece this week. What was it called? You don't remember the name, right?
Yeah.
The name.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's on.
I pissed off the internet.
She made the internet mad.
Because gay couples are married and Christian.
Yeah, because of it was a lesbian couple.
Yeah, it was lesbian.
A lesbian couple sued a Christian couple that didn't want to bake. It was
bake a cake.
Bake a cake for them. So
and they were sued, and the lesbian couple won.
So they were sued, and the lesbian couple won, and they said that they were mind raped or something.
Mentally raped.
Mentally raped. Yes.
They compared it to rape.
There's that. Anyway, I wanted to start. Donald Trump made some comments this week about illegal immigrants. Or illegal aliens is what their legal name is, and God forbid you say that now when you're a racist. But let's start with Donald Trump first of all. Every Republican this week has made it their point to trash Donald Trump as much as possible. Every Democrat has as well. The Republicans piled on because they follow the drummer boy, which is the Democrat Party. I'm not saying that I'm in lockstep with what Donald Trump said. I'm just saying that political correctness is it's overwhelming here. Grant, let's talk about Donald Trump in the campaign in general. Yeah. Do you think it stirs up the campaign in a good way? Do you think it's a negative? Why do you think so many Republicans are out there attacking him rather than talking about the issues?
I think it's a good thing for him in the primaries because his base probably isn't very politically correct, and I don't think a lot of conservatives are really politically correct. I think it's more of a left-leaning thing. And while I don't agree with him that immigration is necessarily a problem, I think he stressed more that illegal immigration is a problem, right. Which I agree with.
To be fair, he means illegal immigration.
Yeah, which I agree with, and I like how he said some stuff, maybe a little emotional, whatever, but he stood by what he said. He didn't apologize. Right. He's like, sorry if it offended you, but it's
right.
But okay. He didn't back down. Like he cut all the deals and everything. He was like, fine, leave me if you don't like me.
This is the impression I got from what he said.
I wouldn't have said it.
I wouldn't have said it that way. Okay, but what he's saying is essentially we don't know who's here, and that's the most accurate statement I've heard. Everyone's there are people that want jobs Americans don't want, or they're here for work. We're talking about immigrants in the abstract. We don't know why
even the immigrants that want to come here and work, like the entrepreneurial ones from Europe, it's like impossible for them to get here because of chaos that they've caused.
But to say that we know wholesale why immigrants want to, we do not know. I don't know. We don't know who's coming here. We could tell in pre-1914 who was coming here. They were screened. They were checked for diseases. Do you have a phone number? Do you have an address? Who's paying for you? Are you going to become a public charge? So on and so forth. We don't have that anymore. Kevin, we could talk about the economics of immigration, but again, to my point, we still don't know who's coming here and why. Kevin, what are your thoughts on Trump in general in the race? Do you think he stirs things up? Do you think he makes the other Republican candidates talk about issues perhaps the mainstream media shies away from? What do you think?
First of all, is there like reverb or anything on my voice? Because I took my headphones out.
You're good.
No.
All right. Trump's a joke. But what he has going for him is he's a populist. He says things that people generally want to hear, what he thinks people want to hear. He's very good at getting people to actually listen to him because nobody knows what he's going to say. Because of that, he gets a lot of the microphones in front of his face that could be in front of a more serious candidate, like Rand Paul, Marco Rubio,
I haven't heard much from Rand Paul over the past couple of weeks. Have you?
No, I haven't. And you know, but he's got his own separate issues. But to stay on the issue of Trump, I mean, he's going to take away a lot of the attention just by saying things that are outrageous, out of left field. And that's an awful more serious candidate.
Let me stop you for a second. He did bring up an issue that's important, though, in politics, and certainly going to be important in the next in the next election cycle. Why are people focused more on Donald Trump than the issue of illegal aliens entering the country? We don't know who's here. I hear a lot of people mock, oh, he wants a wall put up. Well, mock the wall to the Israelis that put a wall up and saw suicide bombers drop by 99%. I mean, people will mock these things. They dismiss them without actually creating any argument. I'm not agreeing with wholesale with what Trump said. What I'm saying is he does have an argument insofar as we do not know who's coming here. We do not know why they're coming here. But a lot of politicians make it out as though they do know why, and certainly libertarians do. Do you think he has any sort of point as to, I'm all for open immigration. I want to see people come here and free flow, like labor participate. You know, in economics, the free flow to labor is a good thing. But I don't know that that's happening. I can't say definitively that I do know that that's happening.
Well, that assumes that America is anywhere near a free market right now, which we are obviously not.
Yes.
And people that come here, a few years ago, the Heritage Foundation did a report that looked at, it was a very controversial report that looks at the costs and benefits of amnesty for the existing illegal immigrant population. And it concluded that by the end of the period at which they were looking, there would be a negative impact of $160 billion a year. That's a negative impact of illegal immigration. Now, the report itself was controversial, and it got there was a lot of blowback from people saying it left certain things out and included too many other things. Really, the point is not so much the conclusion of that report as it is people need to really take a look at what the costs and benefits of immigration are today to America. Illegal immigration, unregulated immigration, because if you don't look at that, you really don't have any idea whether or not opening the borders is a good thing or a bad thing. Like in the 1800s, it was unequivocally a good thing to have labor come over. We were supplied with labor, and they were supplied with income, and that was it. And the benefit to society was the fruits of their labor. Now, with all the programs that the government heaps upon people, it's impossible to tell whether it's a benefit anymore.
So,
if the one thing that Trump's getting is the fact that he's raising this issue, then yeah, I'll agree with you.
So you're advocating a rational model, a cost-benefit analysis, taking into account today's welfare state and how prices are allocating resources, meaning minimum wage, so on and so forth. I mean, basically what we're getting is the most unskilled from Mexico come across the border, and most of them are priced out of the workforce anyway. Obviously, they're going to have to work off the books, which I think is a good thing, so long as illegal immigration stays illegal. Perhaps that could be a good thing.
Unskilled labor used to be a huge benefit to this country. I mean, the Irish immigrants in the 1800s came over with no skills. They were coming from a famine, and they brought things that people over here wanted to use, their labor. You can't use that anymore. You can't use it unless you pay them $7.50 an hour, and that's the minimum wage. In some states, it's up to like $10 an hour. So a lot of people are bringing over not enough skills to fit into our labor market, at least not over the table, under the table.
And that's a time where incentives, the economics of laws and the incentives were different at that time. It was people came here for opportunity. There weren't many laws that incentivized people to have kids here to earn money, or a welfare state that would price them out of the market for and the ability for them to collect welfare insofar as how many kids that they've had. I want to get into Matt. Matt, you had the In Defense of Classical Liberalism. You have the chapter on immigration. Do you think illegal immigration, do you think unregulated? I think the problem is conservatives can't articulate their point. And part of the problem is I'm all for open immigration insofar as we know who's coming here. Let them all in. But do not let them benefit from the welfare state for a certain amount of time. And that would it would be the free flow of labor. It would still be hard considering minimum wage laws. But do you think keeping illegal immigration or illegal at this time is better than actually making it legal?
Yeah, I think I do. in the book, I somewhat disagree with actually what Corey says in the book. He quotes that famous phrase by Friedman, you can't have a welfare state for immigration. Corey pointed out, though, that Friedman actually supported illegal immigration because they allegedly can't take government benefits if they're illegal. But I think we know today there are many examples where illegals can take government benefits, even though they are illegal. If they have kids that are now citizens, they get enrolled in public schools.
That's right.
And I mean, there are cases of illegals getting, let's say, fake driver's license and being able to apply for benefits. I don't know how common that is, but I'm sure it does happen. So, that's my case against illegal immigration. It's almost that alone. The arguments that, I don't know, they're causing crime, I haven't seen the evidence that they commit crime at higher rates than the general population. And I think you and I both know from an economic standpoint, the they took our jobs argument doesn't really hold up necessarily.
Right.
So,
no, they take our jobs argument is nonsense in as much as...
you're not entitled to a job.
Right. Yeah. And most of those jobs they say that there's data that was released by the Census Bureau, most of those jobs that they say that they take our jobs are really worked by American citizens. There's data that backs that up. But, I mean, it's like there's another argument to the opposite of that, which is, they take jobs Americans don't want. Well, it's a job, demand is created by prices. So if the wages went up, Americans would want them. So, I mean, there's another economic illiterate argument.
It's like when these jobs pay shitty wages, no Americans want them. Well, they won't always see it that way if you hold... Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, no American is going to pick oranges in a field for 10 hours a day for, whatever, like $5 an hour, or what they do under the table,
And by the way, when liberals make that argument, don't they realize they're helping big business and stuff by subsidizing the labor costs? So,
but see, this is now you've hit it, Manny, because they don't care about that. They care about big government. Yeah. And what are illegal immigrants coming here for? Not for opportunity, but for outcome.
Yeah. And they're voters
big
too.
Government. That's correct. Well, the Hispanics that are here are voters. And they're going to say, well, how are you treating the people that are coming across? They make it into rather than an illegal alien thing, it's a racial thing. It has nothing to do with race.
Right.
Zero, and it has everything to do with legal status. So the left will obfuscate and they'll turn it into a debate that had never arisen, which is aggravating. But Grant, Thomas Sowell, who's probably one of the better economists of the 20th and 21st century, most influential to me, always makes the argument that these immigrants are immigrants in the abstract, that we don't know why they're here. And he's advocating for a system that I would advocate for, which is, I just want to know why you're here, and you should not be afforded state benefits when you come here. Your only incentive should be to work. Would you agree with that argument in principle, like if it was possible?
I would agree with that. I think it would be a lot more I think we do that already. We had the laws in place to do that. We just don't.
Right. The laws aren't being followed.
Exactly. So I think there is something in place. It's not an issue of necessarily bureaucratic incompetence in operations, just incompetence in not enforcing the law.
So let me talk to you about that for a second. Let me stop you there, Grant. Let me talk to you for a second. So were you saying, one, American sovereignty is at stake here. We're not following the laws. The laws that are on the books.
We're not.
That's one problem, right? So let's disregard American sovereignty and for the benefit of illegal aliens. And I want to help as many people as possible here. Do not get me wrong. Mm-hmm. Problem number 2 is we don't have a closed border system. We have no way of knowing who's coming in. They come in. We don't know if it's a criminal element. We don't know if they're coming here for benefits. We don't know if they're coming here for jobs. I'm sure a lot of them are. I'm sure a lot of them are coming here for opportunity, but I don't know what percentage. You can't ask that question empirically.
I don't know how you keep them out. Like, I don't think building a wall is a good idea. I think that's just a huge waste of money. I think with modern technology, we can keep an eye on our borders. If we have the budget, in an ideal world, we can patrol our borders without building a wall.
Why not let Why not let border states patrol their own borders like Arizona wanted?
I think it should be done federally. I think it's a function of the federal government.
No, it is, but states do, and constitutionally speaking, had police power under the original intent of the Constitution.
If they want to,
yeah,
go for it.
Now here's my point on that, Grant. We had a federal government at one point that went after Arizona for enforcing at the state level federal laws that the federal government would not enforce. But we have in San Francisco a sanctuary city that disregards federal laws. The federal government doesn't back it up. But they had a they filed a lawsuit in the Justice Department against Arizona. Where's the lawsuit against San Francisco?
That's what I mean. It's all about creating a voting base. You know, of course, Obama wants to give 6 million people amnesty.
Right.
6 million people are going to vote for the next Democrat in his next election. And
it's insane. And I have news for you. I'm all about amnesty. Close the border and let's give everybody amnesty.
I think it'd cost way too much money to round all those people up.
No doubt about it. Close the border, amnesty, and we start over, and we go to pre-1914 immigration laws. You let people across, but they're subject to the free market, which isn't free anymore. I don't understand libertarians. I'll go to you on this one, Kevin. A prominent libertarian, I won't mention his name, wrote about every conversation about illegal immigration should start with the plight of illegal immigrants themselves, meaning that we need to talk about the morality of helping illegal aliens before we talk about the benefit of American citizens. Would you agree with that statement? That I understand that people coming from Central America and Mexico have it worse than we do, but people in Africa have it worse than we do. People all over the world have it worse than we do. Do we have an obligation to just let them in? Oh, wholesale, just come in and we don't need to know who you are? Go ahead.
Not an obligation, but you have to understand, if you look at it from a perspective of who are we trying to help? Are we really trying to help the immigrant? Because a lot of liberals and so forth come out and say, well, it's wrong to call them illegal immigrants. You know, you're stigmatizing them and so forth.
Stop
but the truth is, just end the whole feels thing and look at it from a perspective of, well, who's being helped, and try to determine whether or not people are actually. 1800s. The people that came over, they came over for a reason, because they were very low-wage people, and they knew they could get jobs over here in the factories that were coming up. The same thing could be said today. If people could get jobs over in the factory, they can't.
Right.
Somebody can't come over and take a job for $2, $3, which, believe it or not, as horrible as that to us, would be a tremendous benefit to somebody coming over from the inner China. But we're not allowed to give them those jobs anymore, so they're not going to benefit from anything. So,
and can I stop you there? Because wages are wages and prices are relative. So let's say in a free market they do come over, they drive wages down, that drives prices down. Okay? People see things in nominal terms and never in real terms. You know what I mean? So it would improve the standard of living for everybody because you'd have a efficient resources. People are like, oh, wages need to go up. They don't always need to go up. You got to look at it in relation to prices, and the idea that wages are not relative to prices is a Marxist like a Marxist idea. And I think
the same people who say, oh, we can't let our jobs go overseas. Okay, they say let's keep American jobs in America. But what about, instead of them going overseas, how about bringing people from overseas to us? That's what happened 100 years ago, is that we brought the labor force that could and was willing to do the job to us. So instead of taking our factory base and sending it overseas and losing a lot of money that way, open immigration and the right society would basically create a situation in which the labor force would come that we needed would come to us. There is a labor shortage in a lot of areas of the United States right now, and we can't fill it in some areas because we just don't have the right people that want to take that job, and so a lot of these companies go overseas.
Kevin, let me ask you, you do a lot of work on this, but in aggregates, I think we have the lowest labor force participation in almost 40 years. So I would say, if you could look at the BLS statistics all day and say, yeah, unemployment's at 5.5%, I think that's nonsense. I think that supply for labor far outpaces demand. So in a sense, without wages able to adjust because of minimum wage laws, laws that require companies to retain employees and costs which add to costs, obviously pervert the labor market. But I don't know how in this type of market, which is so restrained and so centrally planned, so to speak, would help any immigrants or help the American people wholesale at this point. I don't see it helping anybody. at all. I don't. With the, and libertarians always lament the system we have now, this corporate system, this government-run system, and then want, we need to worry about the plight of illegal aliens and how it helps the economy. What? I don't. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too here. You know what I mean?
That's right, and we want as many resources.
Dan, go ahead.
Who's that?
That was Josie. She just said something, but I missed it.
Well, we need more Josie on the show. Get her over here.
Oh, Kevin wants to see you.
No, I don't want to see her. I want you to ask her a question.
What do you want me to ask her?
Josie, how do you feel about illegal immigration?
Oh, God.
What?
Josie, how do you feel about illegal immigration? Here, put these on.
Christ. Are you kidding right now? Okay.
Don't curse.
All right.
I told people you're going to be on the show, so I need to ask you a couple questions.
All right, go ahead.
Number one, illegal immigration. I mean, what do you want to do with the illegal immigrants that number in the million? Come out, keep them here, give them full benefits. Are you one of those people who says we should have no borders? Are you one of those people who, I've never really heard your viewpoints on illegal immigration. Or immigration.
Well, I guess that depends on the individual, correct?
The individual immigrant?
Yeah, like who's trying to get into the country? Let's pinpoint it to one individual, quote unquote, illegal immigrant. What is he or she trying to do?
Well, if they're trying to get in the country to get a job,
right,
then I'd say that's probably a benefit to the United States if they can get a job.
Correct.
If they're trying to get into the country to get on welfare, then that's not a very good idea to let. In the past, we used to let people in the country after taking a look at exactly what they were coming here for. Now, I'm not talking about 100 or 150 years ago, but I'm talking about more recent.
Yeah, because looking out for thought crimes has always prevented crimes from happening. Stop that, Kevin. You know better than that.
Thought crimes? Where did we get the thought crimes?
Because you just did it. Because you just said that when you're looking out for what people are going to do and what they're going to do when they get here, and illegal immigrants, like when you're trying to stop. Listen, yes, when you're trying to
need more police.
No, stop it. Oh, stop. Listen, don't you talk over me when I'm speaking with you. We can speak calmly and nicely if you just don't interrupt me. Ready? Okay? Thank you. When you say it depends on what they're coming here for and what they want to do, then that means you're trying to anticipate what they're going to do. That is anticipating a thought crime. Like, what you're doing is, right now you've already, when you say that.
Anticipating real crimes.
Okay. Well, then I have yet to hear
Josie.
all I've heard of it. Yeah?
All right, well, let's say the person coming into the country is a convicted felon from Mexico.
Wait, what kind of felon?
Assault, rape, murder, I don't know, pick one.
No, I would know.
Felon.
No, it has to be specific and it has to be proven, so tell me.
Assault with a deadly weapon.
Okay, and what's the evidence?
Let's just he was caught red-handed, dead to rights. He blood on the hand, the shoe fits, everything. The blood fits.
Okay.
What happens when he comes in the country?
Okay, well, I mean, he's not allowed in the country. So what happens with all the rest?
Who's gonna stop him?
What do you mean? Who's gonna stop me? Do you think
who's
it's gonna
stop him from walking from Mexico into the United States?
Do you think it's gonna be the border control that's holding the fucking checkpoint that stop? I'm sorry. Do you think it's going to be the border control that's holding the gosh darn checkpoints, making American citizens show their ID, or do you think it's gonna be like?
Who else is it gonna be? Who else is it gonna be?
Exactly. There's no one who's gonna do it. So stop pretending. Stop pretending the government is gonna save your ass. Seriously, stop it. Like get the boot out of your throat.
I don't think they are.
No, listen. Get the boot out of your throat. It's not made of mint. It's not gonna make your breath taste any better. I promise you. Just like buck up and realize.
So then who's to blame when he comes
out because of your potty mouth?
Wait, I heard 3 people talking.
Yeah, you made my 8-year-old cry in your potty mouth, and he just had to leave. So I just want to point that out. Sorry, Grant.
That's such a lie. That's such a lie.
So when he comes over to the United States and murders somebody, who's going to stop him from doing that?
Who?
The knife
Who?
guy, the knife murderer. If he comes over to the United States and kills somebody,
Wait, what knife murderer?
the person we were just talking about.
Oh, you mean this
hypothetical? Yes. This convicted felon. You don't think this happens?
Dude, people kill people everywhere. Dude, people fucking suck. People are assholes. People commit murder. Like, laws aren't going to change it. I'm sorry, but laws don't stop a person from breaking the law. If someone's going to do some horrible things and really hurt people, the law isn't going to stop them because they're psychopathic and they're going to do it anyway. Sorry.
And then how do you retribute that as a society?
What do you mean, how do you retribute that? I don't know that. I've never...
You killed somebody.
No,
all
listen,
right.
no.
All right. Oh, too bad.
Listen, I've never ever claimed to have a solution for this, and that's why I get so irritated when people say, "Well, what's your solution?" I don't know. I've never claimed to have one.
I'm just curious. I'm not saying you don't have one. I'm just curious.
But I don't have one. Who does?
That's my point. There's no into it.
If someone's attacking me, I'm gonna kill them. That's my solution for that situation. I'm going to absolutely retaliate with more. Like it's not going to be equal and opposite force. It's going to be more than equal and opposite force. It's going to be just. I'm going to kill them. If someone's trying to kill me or do anything harmful to me, I'm going to kill them. That's my solution.
They take one of you. You take two of them. They take three of you. You take a whole college or a whole community.
All right, this isn't Boondock Saints. Come on, relax.
No, but the point actually is a good one that Grant's making,
Yeah.
which is that if you want to look, it's not a thought crime to look at somebody's past and decide whether or not they're going to be at risk
Actually,
of becoming...
that's the exact definition of a thought crime, because you can't predict what they're going to do. So if you think that you can, that makes it a thought crime. If you think listen, Kevin, stop. No, everyone stop. Listen, Kevin, if you think that you can look at someone and predict what they're going to do in the next 10 seconds, the next 10 years, then oh my God, give me your crystal ball, because we all need it. Please, it would save the world.
I have no idea what you're going to say in the next 10 minutes. So
exactly. You can't exactly. So you can't say that, you can look at what someone's done in the last 10 years and try to guess what they're going to do in the next couple years or the next couple weeks or the next couple seconds. That's bullshit.
Okay, you know that. A second.
Okay.
All right, Joe, let's talk about thought crimes here.
Let's talk about what?
Thought crimes.
Thought crimes. All right, let's talk about thought crimes. Can I my drink test?
Hey, grab your drink first.
Yes.
Huh?
All right, so Josie, though, I mean, we can actually look at this sort of thing through the lens of cost-benefit analysis, because people who committed crimes in the past are statistically more likely to commit crimes in the future.
Yeah,
so
but is it?
We can predict off that what an expected range of what percentage of immigrants will commit crimes based on what percent have a prior criminal record. So we can actually figure out based off that whether or not what percentage of immigrants will likely cause crimes, and we can see if on net balance there's an increase in crime. Shit, I'm drunk too. I can't actually articulate this point, but
Matt,
I'm saying we can figure out. We can try to extrapolate based off past information because immigrants with criminal records are more likely to commit crimes.
Right, Matt. I get that. Yes, you can, and not predict. You said predict. You can estimate. What may happen. Yes, you said predict every time. You can estimate every time. However, you cannot absolutely decide that one specific immigrant is going to commit a specific crime and be a detriment to a certain society or culture based on where they came from or what their past was. That's my point. You can't do that. It's impossible.
I'm just saying you can extrapolate from the fact that people have committed crimes in the past that they're likely to do it in the future.
I'm not extrapolating anything. I'm disproving your argument that. No, I'm disproving your argument that you can just decide that a certain type of people are going to do the same exact thing when it's not true. That's speculation. You know that, and I know that you know that.
All right.
But you can get. I mean, the algorithm
No. Shh. Listen, no, Matt. This is me and you.
What have you done?
Don't sit back and say, all right, debunk me. Debunk what I just said.
I kind of zoned out. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it too difficult to pay attention to
me
reacting to what
I was
you
reading
said?
the comments on Liberty.me about how stupid we all are.
Oh, I guess it's a little too tough for this. Well, what is it too tough to be faced with a bitch that knows what the fuck she's talking about?
Josie. Yes, Josie, you schooled me.
Hey, Josie.
Yes, I know I'm not allowed to say that word. I'm
Josie.
sorry. Yes,
71% of violent felons reoffend within the next 5 years.
Okay, where did you
So
get that?
does that mean that if 2 immigrants walk through the door, I can toss one out?
Go back. No, it doesn't.
We're going to statistically predict it?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't mean that. That's the thing. Like you keep.
71%. I'm willing to bet on that.
No, it doesn't mean that at all. Absolutely not. And you know that. Like I know you're fucking with me, and I know you're. I don't know where you're pulling these statistics from. I'm sure they're from something .gov government. A .gov website, right?
Yeah. So.
Damn right they are.
So.
I know. I'm just telling you. I'm sure the government. Every time the government, they investigate themselves, they report accurately what they found, right? You keep sucking the government's dick and see where that gets you.
We just need more police, Josie.
That's all we need. More police, more bootlickers, more boot deep throaters. Man, just shove them down there. Sorry, I'm not allowed to say that. God. As long as it's mint flavor, it's not a big deal.
Hey, Will, he's not talking to you, Billy. Come back. No, don't leave.
Will.
I'm not allowed to say bad things. Sorry.
Well, listen. Listen. My point about immigration is that I disagree with you.
I already won. I disagree with you too, and I already won it. You debunked nothing, so fuck you.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, but I respectfully disagree with you and your potty mouth.
I disrespectfully disagree with your church mouth.
No, I just want to say that it has been proven that an algorithm.
It hasn't.
All right, I'm gonna get back
Your
on it.
crime's going to
Yeah,
happen.
it has not been proven. Stop that. It's a lie.
So we got the anarchist perspective there. It was, he did a good job other than the bad words.
Sorry, but I think you guys are
Hey, so
the problem is it's been empirically proven, and that.
Well, empirics to ideologues.
No, empirical evidence.
All right, should you not? All right, calm down. I was kidding. That was a joke. I know you're all about empirics.
No, I'm the opposite of that because the most dangerous phrase.
So she's the opposite of empirics.
Because the most dangerous phrase we've in the history of
You
man.
not hit me.
No,
Promise?
I'm not gonna hit you. But
okay, thank God.
The most dangerous phrase we've ever used is "we've always done it this way."
Yes.
The most dangerous phrase.
But that's not.
Fuck empirical evidence. Yes, it is.
Okay, but that's not a cost-benefit analysis.
Yeah, no, you said empirical evidence.
Yes, empirics and whether it's cost-benefit. Okay.
Oh, man.
Moving on.
All right, so next topic.
Moving on. Good job, Kevin. Anything else? You have any other suggestions, Kevin?
Yeah, I want to get on for another question really quick.
No,
yeah,
we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
No, it was interesting.
I want to talk about some race stuff.
It was. Okay, I'm sorry.
Let's talk about Grant's piece.
Yeah,
Grant, your latest piece.
Coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
It's not out yet.
Give us a brief overview, and then I want to get into the empirics of it.
So over the weekend, there were, I think it was 10 black people killed in Chicago and 43 wounded. One was a 7-year-old boy. I didn't see any news. Horrible. I didn't see any news headlines or riots or protests.
How many people were shot in Chicago, though? We got 10 were killed.
46 wounded by gunfire, and yeah.
I didn't see any hashtag Black Lives Matter either.
I didn't see any hashtags. So it really got to my nerves that the left and especially progressive liberals, it completely ignore black people when they're in their neighborhoods are just ridden with crime and economic disparity, and it's horrible. But then the second a white person kills a black person, or even like George Zimmerman, a half-white person, it's racism and the world's gonna end and white people are all out murdering black people and black.
Does this not prove, Grant, it's all about narratives? Does that not prove
it's all about narratives? I saw today an opinion, and I think it's a good estimation, that 93% of black murder victims are killed by other black people. That is horrendous. And I think that it's liberal policies that cause this disparity, and that's why they don't want to say anything other than racism. because they just want to avoid all political responsibility.
But Grant, if a black person is killed by a white person, their life is worth 10 times as much. So once you do the math, it actually balances out.
Yeah, especially in media clicks and everything.
But more to the point, I mean, you don't hear anything about that. Obama, that's his that's the city. I don't hear him come out and say anything. You'll hear him come out and say every other instance. Also, moreover, to the point, the gal that's shot in San Francisco. Do you hear the president mention it?
No.
She's white as fuck.
Do you hear him come out and say, "Hey, that was a horrible. You know, there's something we need to do about it"? No, it's all politics. They play politics with people's lives. That's sick to me.
Yeah, it is. It is very sick. It is very.
I mean, but you know, you're as a libertarian conservative, you're not compassionate. You know, you lack compassion. But they're
you know? I'm just a racist, and I don't know what I'm talking about. And they've had these policies in place for decades, and black people just keep slipping away, and they just think that more and more of it will help them raise the minimum wage.
The best is how they bunch people up by skin pigmentation.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Right, because you're black, you think the same as all other black people. What is that?
I'm going to cite Thomas Sowell in it. I'm going to cite Thomas Sowell in it just to add a little icing on the cake. But a lot of people are going to be very offended, I hope.
Somehow my skin pigmentation dictates how I think, my prejudices, my biases. Regardless of whether, irrespective of whether my family was here during slavery or not, irrespective of how blacks performed post-slavery and then post-welfare, the welfare society, that's a question seldom asked, let alone answered. It's really disgusting. But go ahead, Grant. Talk about specifically. Go.
You can pretty much see the black labor force participation fall apart, especially in the youth. I mean, like right after the Great Society, a lot of single mothers. I think now it's like 75 to 100% in some places. Minimum wage was it was a eugenics plot. I mean, it was just white union protection when it first came out of the Fair Labor Standards Act. But I think that narrative also undermines poor white people who didn't just suddenly come up with privilege and become rich. You know what I mean? Like poor white people who worked their whole life and became wealthy. And that's not because they had privilege, it's because they worked. And it also undermines a lot of black people who do the same thing. And it's one of the worst. I think it's one of the worst political narratives there is.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Kevin, you do a lot of work on media biases. Obviously, narratives. Okay, I've seen you do a lot of work on that. It really bothers me that they exploit people. And certainly, let's look at the church in South Carolina. I'm sorry, Charleston, right? Was it Charleston?
Yeah.
And before these people were even buried, it was a political issue. And I mean, did you ever hear about the families forgiving this guy in court? These Christian families. I mean, these people are at church at a service on a Wednesday night. These are the best of the best. These are the most docile people. You know what I mean? And here they are in church or at the court hearing forgiving this guy. Their family members have just been murdered a couple of days before. Do you hear the media coming out and saying, "Look at these Americans. This is our country. This is Christian America forgiving this racist murderer"? All I hear is Confederate flag. This whites are racist. Racism's in our DNA. I don't hear, for some reason, because somebody's skin pigmentation is darker than mine, they cease to be American, and somehow they're black, and that's wholly separate from American culture. Right. Talk about that for a second.
Well, it's funny. I watched that live. There was the court hearing in which the judge came out, and the judge said a couple of things that raised eyebrows. He said a couple of things that we are going to do our best to make sure that the families are looked out for. But he also said we are also going to do our best to make sure that the perpetrators' families are well taken. You know, we're not going to make sure that they're run through the press gauntlet. And after he said it was literally only like a 30-second statement that he said. Then there came this remarkable 10 minutes plus of family members, like you said, of the victims standing up and saying, "I forgive the person who just a day earlier had murdered their family member." And it was one after the other. They all forgived him and asked him to make peace with Jesus and all this stuff. So you don't have to be a Catholic. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to be you don't even have to be religious to understand
Right.
that what was happening there was an amazing thing. I mean, you had people literally choosing peace over violence. When that was done, they kicked back to Don Lemon or whoever it was on CNN, and instead of talking about what you said, how great this moment was, where you never see stuff like this. Instead of talking about that, the first thing he said was about the judge and how horrible the judge was and how racist the thing he said was, this white judge, and they immediately focused on him, and then they brought in their panel to talk about how horrible it was that he said we got to make sure that the perpetrator's family is also protected because they have suffered a great loss too. And that was the moment when I thought to myself, we've lost the media maybe forever, because you can't, CNN, that's a national media mega company, and they've decided on the spot not to focus on the good, but to instead focus on this narrative of this horrible white judge, which only played a tiny role in the whole press conference.
Right. Look, there's this prevailing culture of hate America first. I know I'll get a lot of backlash for that, but it's always hate America first. Americans are racist. Americans hate brown people, even though they stream across our borders at unprecedented rates. Somehow we're a racist nation, we're a horrible nation, but everybody still wants to come here. People are flooding across our borders no matter the risk. But somehow we're this grandiose racist nation. How is that possible when you look at all the empirical information says the complete opposite, that perhaps we're the most tolerant nation in the world, which I believe that we are. I think Thomas Sowell came up with a piece. I don't know if you guys read it, but he said, stop using slavery as an excuse. You keep using this. Everything is, everything's caused by slavery. The plight of the black family today is caused by slavery. When, again, I think we talked about it earlier, that he talks about, really the destruction of the black family came in the 60s, in the early 60s, with the welfare state. So rarely do people want to carry on an empirical conversation, talk about the facts. It's always about this emotional demagogic stuff, this populist stuff, for power. I mean, if you look at the Democrats, they've changed positions numerous times on marriage. Obama, what was it? His first campaign was for traditional marriage. If you look at Harry Reid and you look at Hillary Clinton in the 90s and Hillary Clinton in 2003, Harry Reid more specifically in 93, were against illegal immigration. Harry Reid specifically was on the Senate floor lamenting the fact that illegal aliens can come here and have a child and it would become an American citizen. So,
Will,
go ahead.
What's interesting is that their opinions change just as the voters making up the Democratic Party change. They're so in touch with their people.
So what does that tell you, though, Matt, about these politicians?
I was tongue in cheek. I mean, yeah, of course.
What does that tell? They're about power. They're not about principle. Obviously. I mean, they just want to retain their power, and they'll say anything to retain it. It's not about the law or the Constitution or sovereignty or self-government or individual liberty. It's about power. And I brought this up in other episodes, and everybody made fun of me. But, Will, he's crazy. But, this is what I see all the time happen. And it's about self-aggrandizement and power. And I don't see a lot of people in the mainstream media calling anybody out. I see Donald Trump say something, and maybe he didn't say it in the most savvy or couth manner. But he brought up something that people really should talk about, and saying that we don't know who's coming here. We do not have a free market anymore. We don't have people fleeing we don't have laborers fleeing to jobs. We have people looking for outcomes rather than opportunity, and no one talks about that. And it bothers me that libertarian economists, specifically prominent economists, can't understand that this isn't a free market anymore, and that's the problem. And Grant, you're a libertarian, and you're a principled libertarian. I'm a libertarian conservative insofar as recognizing law and the market. But I mean, you even see this.
I'm probably ideologically libertarian. I would, like Julie, when Julie was on our show, she said I would love to live in an all-voluntarist society. I would too, but I also realize that we have to work within the bounds of our current situation and real economics and real outcomes on a large scale. And you just can't open the floodgates when we flood money out on welfare as well, and then we got this terrible national debt. I mean, our fiscal projection is awful, and then you just want to drop 5 million people on that?
No, but Grant, we got the jobs report in July. It was 230,000 jobs added, man.
Yeah,
Things are looking up.
In 5 months, we'll be all good.
Yeah, in 5 months, make that 5 years or two. That's just keeping pace with population. Yeah, we have. And let me get to Kevin though. I have a question, Kevin.
Well, before you ask me a question,
okay.
I promised the people on Unbiased America today that we would. I asked them to comment on immigration, and that we would read some of their comments on the air. So I just want to make sure we get to those comments, Will.
So you have 2 comments to read?
What's that?
You have 2 comments to read?
No, I got like 40 of them.
Oh, you will actually cover the show? Awesome.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I mentioned that Josie was going to be on, all of a sudden the thing was...
Yeah.
But go ahead with your question, but I just want to make sure we get to some of these comments from
Okay, let's do that now because we have 13 minutes, so...
Well, here's one that came up. A number of people said this, but the first one who brought this up was a guy named Jack Wolfe, and he said, "Get rid of borders, no more problems." At which point, you know, I said, and I think a lot of people have responded. It's a tough. You hear this a lot. Get rid of borders, but what happens if you're in an anarchist society? Are there any more borders? Of course there are. Property borders. And how do you defend a property border? And is it any different to defend a collective property?
Let me stop you there. So what's okay for the individual? I mean, they always say what's okay for the collective, should be okay for the individual. I think that's a lot of anarchists. That's a lot of their points, right? That this collective taxation is collective theft. That as an individual, I can't do that. So what they're saying is, so as an individual, I can protect my private property, but as a collective, American citizens can't protect sovereign soil, right? I mean, I don't understand. Like, they generally want to have it both ways. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, it's a tough issue because in a certain way they're right, because you don't want to have your property completely defended. The defense of your property, you don't want to leave that up to somebody else. You'd rather have yourself, the individual, the property owner, in charge of your own property, your own border. But that said, in a way, if I own a large chunk of property on the Mexican border, I don't want to have to rely upon myself. I look at the United States government, if they were actually, defending our property border, defending our borders. I look at the U.S. government as a benefit when it comes to defending borders. So, I have no problem. I just think that the government is not doing a good job protecting our borders. And, one of the things I'd like my tax dollars to go towards is protecting the borders.
I agree, but the government has a huge incentive not to protect the borders. Voters is what they care about most. Power, self-aggrandizement is what they most care about, rather than actually like defending the border. You know what I mean? So they have all incentives not to. And the people, we're talking about issues that don't even matter. We're talking about race. We're talking about what Donald Trump said rather than the actual issue, and this is how they deter away from the actual debate and coming up with a logical argument. I agree with you, Kevin. I think that individuals should be able to protect their property, and I think that a collective body, a self-governing culture, should be able to protect their country too. Not only their country, but their culture. Something that nobody ever brings up. Are these people coming here to be American? I mean, are you coming here to bring your failed culture here too? You know what I mean? I think it's Jorge Ramos.
I disagree with that because I think that America was a melting pot of different cultures.
That's not, but that's what America is. Are you saying?
What is America? Tell them what
Yeah.
America is.
So what I'm saying is, I think you're talking about. First of all, shave that beard, Josie. She can't hear me. All right.
He's like way down deep.
I think America was a melting pot of cultures, and I think that was.
It still is.
Yeah, but you just argued that.
No, Kevin. They're escaping a certain culture now, are they not?
But you said we should be defending our culture.
Yeah, we should.
Why
we
shouldn't? What's our culture if not a melting pot?
Right, but this is my point. Are they importing their culture here to be the prevailing culture, or are they acquiescing or coalescing to American culture as immigrants before them? Does that make sense?
The generations that we've had were the Italians, the Irish.
Kevin, isn't it? My family's built of Italian immigrants. They came here to be American, not Italian. They came here to be American.
No big deal.
That doesn't mean that, oh, you know, we don't make sauce or meatballs or pasta anymore. It means that we speak English. We adhere to American culture, life, liberty, and property. The civil society here, where there isn't a fascist Benito Mussolini or I forgot the dominant political party in Mexico or in Latin America.
You're not talking about culture.
Yes, that's part of their culture.
Sure,
it's part of culture.
Bringing over ideologies.
But ideology is certainly part of culture. The civil society doesn't exist to the extent it exists in the United States of America and Latin America. And the same in Europe. There was the civil society respecting rights, and most of the time, governments are a reflection of the civil society, meaning individuals respecting individual rights. Collectives not coming here as political radicals to use government to take property away from other people. Okay, so that's generally what I'm talking about. We have racial front groups like La Raza that intend to keep people these certain subcultures alive because subcultures collect money. Do they not? I mean, why acquiesce to American culture, hard work, individual responsibility, working your way up from the bottom when you can collect government benefits?
But is that really what they're coming here for?
Do we know?
No,
Again, do we know?
No, but look at the statistics. Something like most jobs that were created in the last, I forget the number, like 10 years, were for immigrants. Went to immigrants. I mean, it's not like they're sitting here not working.
But again, let's go back to this. Is there a total free market in America, again, or is there a welfare state? So we do not know why they're coming here. We do not have the system set up to allow immigration like that, pre-1914 immigration. So we know why they were coming here then. They were coming here for jobs. It was a free flow of labor.
But I'm saying look at statistics and look at whether or not they come over here to go on immigration, to go on welfare, or whether or not they come over here to be...
Kevin, I'm not saying...
Hold on. I'm saying you're looking for thought crimes. You're trying to predict thought crimes on the behalf of these immigrants that are coming over. You're trying to tell us that they're going to... They're not going to commit. They're not going to get a job.
I'm going to rebut you quite simply.
You're going to tell them, telling them.
Stop yelling at me.
All right, listen. All right, I'm sorry.
I'm going to rebut you.
I want to get a couple more questions in here.
But let me rebut. Hold on. Let me rebut that quickly.
Okay. Go ahead. Commit a thought crime.
You have an economics degree, do you not?
Yes.
Do people respond to incentives?
Correct, they do. In fact,
okay. Hold on a second.
Don't start in. I was just one sentence. When I was in college, okay, a good friend of mine would sit next to me in economics class all the time and copy off of me. He had the incentive to copy off of my work. Okay, is that
why?
Somebody coming to the country and taking a job? Kind of.
No. They have incentive to come here because of the laws. I have an incentive. Well, let me go have a kid there. I collect money. I'm not blaming the people. The people are reacting to the incentives of laws that politicians have created. People think I'm not blaming them. They react to incentives the same way people that are on welfare react to incentives that are American citizens. All of a sudden we deny it when it comes to our ideology. Oh no, they're just coming here for opportunity. You know what I mean? There's no incentives for them to come here. Well, we talk about the market all the
crazy eyes.
But wait a minute, we talk about the incentives and constraints created by markets all the time in free market capitalism, and the incentives and constraints that nobody ever wants to talk about that are put on business by a total free market, produce a product that other people want, or you go out of business. But we don't talk about the incentive and constraints of laws of illegal immigration and so on. But go ahead and go to your next point.
I'll go to my next question. I'm going to give this. I'm going to give this to who wants it, Maddie or?
Give Maddie.
Out there and we'll give it to Maddie or Grant. Actually, these are two questions in one. Actually, more statements, comments. George Robert said, first of all, if Unbiased America is to be unbiased, call the undocumented immigrant what he is, an illegal alien. Then we can chat. Until then, you are biased. All right.
I have many times.
That's one side. We had other people saying, "How dare you call them illegal aliens or undocumented citizens or whatever?" You had the other side saying, refer to them by the name as they're humans. They should be referred to as human beings instead of undocumented citizens. So
let's talk about semantics.
It's semantics.
Let's talk about semantics for 20 minutes.
A lot of comments, and I don't know. Do you want to? Who wants to handle this, Matt?
Listen. If you're in this country illegally, your last concern is whether or not people in their private lives call you an illegal immigrant or undocumented immigrant. I don't know. I don't think words are making a difference here. I don't think there's evidence that life is worse for illegal immigrants because we call them illegal immigrants as opposed to undocumented. I don't see it as an issue.
Grant,
are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I agree with Matt. It's semantics. It's political pejoratives. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. It's not like a racist term. It's not like an endearingly racist term. But it is something that liberals nitpick about. I will say that.
It's a legal term. It's a legal term.
When someone refers to Will as Italian American, I doubt he's going, I'm not Italian American. I'm human.
I'm American is what I say. Like you, Palumbo. My family came here. I'm American. I know many immigrants back east that say that when they say, "Oh, are you German?" A woman's been like a grandmother to me, and people say, "Oh, you're German." She has a German accent. She came over here during the war, and she says, "No, I'm American. I don't root for Germany in the World Cup. I root for America." You know what I mean? This is why I'm here. I'm repudiating my culture that was there. I came here to be American because it's a superior culture, and this multiculturalism crap is a failure. And you can see it in Germany, you see it in Britain. It's nonsense, it's crap. And there have been superior cultures that excel in different things throughout the history of mankind.
I gotta find this book for you on my shelf.
There we go. I saw all the guns on your wall. It's so libertarian.
Oh, there's so many guns on my wall. Here's one, The Tragedy of American Compassion.
Oh, very nice.
And there's another one, The Disuniting of America, Reflections on a Multicultural Society.
Yes, I've heard of that book.
I started reading it, and I kind of agree with you.
Yes. I mean, look, I'm not
it's
saying
so non-libertarian of me, but I kind of agree with the argument.
But I'm not saying this a priori. This is through thousands of years of human history.
Yeah.
That at one time the Chinese have excelled, at one time the Middle East has excelled, and at this point the United States of America excels. And you can test these things empirically. It's not anything that you say, oh, well, it's not. Culture has nothing to do with race. You can come here from anywhere in the world and acquiesce to an American culture that has little to do with race or statism or state or all this crap that people want to bring up. It's nonsense. Because people say this, people use these pejoratives to get away from the actual argument, which is incredibly infuriating. It's a really good debate, though. I mean, this is a lot of things that libertarians, I think, at times need to hear that you don't hear on television or you don't hear in the mainstream media. Certainly a lot of what I always see, and I want to ask you guys this. I see a lot of libertarians that love Thomas Sowell, but I don't think they understand how very much conservative he really is. I mean, if he's one conservative economist, or one conservative political theorist or philosopher, it's Thomas Sowell.
I definitely wouldn't call him Austrian.
No, he's a Chicago. He's
what most libertarians would drool over.
Self-described Chicago school, yes, and he's a conservative politically. Why do you think? And Thomas, there's few things I disagree with on Thomas Sowell, except for a lot of his political, I don't know, how would you say it? Political maneuvering, maybe? His political strategy? I'm more radical in that than he is. I'm for shutting down the government. I'm all for standing on principle, whereas Sowell would like to work around that. You know what I mean? So I disagree with him there. He has a point. But I don't understand why a lot of these Austrians or anarchists, I still like Thomas Sowell. You know what I mean? But, they hate people like, say, Mark Levin, who Thomas Sowell would agree with wholesale. So I'm a little lost on that. Maybe it's his economic knowledge.
Yeah, it's probably his economic knowledge and just respect for the individual right.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost there.
And
for them.
Sowell student of Friedman, describes Friedman as a conservative. Doesn't say libertarian. I've never heard Sowell use the term libertarian, to be honest.
Yeah, I've heard him use libertarian before, I think.
Have you?
Yeah, but I think he was writing on Lew Rockwell. So that might have been why.
I mean, Lew Rockwell shares his stuff. He never really wrote for them.
Well, it was on there.
It was, yeah. Lew Rockwell shares his stuff all the time. Just as many Sowell books as I do, and there's a ton. Do you think? Have you ever heard him use the term libertarian? I know he's described Friedman as a conservative.
I do remember one of his books. Like, he refers to Hayek and Friedman as conservatives, but he even then notes Hayek's essay, Why I'm Not a Conservative. So I think he's just maybe using the terms more narrowly than...
Okay.
Or not narrowly, more broadly than other people would. I think it's just easier to say liberal and conservative than liberal, conservative, and cat anarchist, whatnot.
Right, and to think, and to allied nuance and conservatism... I'm not an Irving Kristol. I'm not an Irving Kristol. It's neocon. I'm not a, you know what I mean? I'm a Constitution. I'm a Jeffersonian. Like, if you could take Hamilton and Jefferson and have a kid, that's what it would be. Right there. Yeah, that's what it would be. Yeah. Because Hamilton is, I never agree with everything Hamilton said. A brilliant man. More so probably Jefferson, but I don't agree with everything he said. So there's these things that you need to kind of, it's like an amalgam of the two. And maybe you get John Adams out of that. I don't know. Kevin, what do you think about that? The followers.
I have absolutely no thoughts on that, but I do have a new question.
Go ahead.
I want to get one more question because this is a great issue, and it's something we didn't talk about tonight on the issue of immigration. Todd Tate, as well as two people wrote under the same thing. Todd Tate and Stacey Curry wrote, "Too much money being made off of immigrants being illegal. Whether it's businesses that benefit from cheaper labor costs or political parties that benefit from catering to a new permanent underclass."
The latter is more detrimental.
What about people that are taking advantage of immigrants and illegal immigrants politically or from a corporatist perspective?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I would say the latter situation is worse. The former being immigrants coming here and working for less than, say, an American citizen could, but that would weed itself out on the output end, as it relates to the input end, if that makes sense. The input,
no, it does.
Yeah.
And also, I think always remember that taking a job is voluntary. And
right.
if you're willing to accept a job for under minimum wage, it means you have no better alternatives.
Right.
So if somebody comes from a place down in Honduras and they've been politically oppressed and they have no chance of getting a job, and they come up here, and the only job they can get is for $6 an hour.
Right.
It's their benefit to take that job.
To that other point,
if the only way they can take it is under the table, that's a benefit.
To that other point, Grant might like this piece. I wrote a piece on the corporatism of immigration, actually, where I likened it the same way. I wrote it a couple of years ago, but I likened it to corporatism, meaning that these subcultures, meaning that they don't want to acquiesce to American culture, they want to stay a subculture because it earns them money. There's incentives. And I called it the corporatism of immigration. When Unbiased America blog is up, I'll post it again. But, I mean, that's a good point. Look, they benefit from these things. Why do you think you have race hustlers out there? They make a ton of money keeping this balkanizing, dividing. If we were all united in capitalism, freedom, and liberty, the politicians would suffer. Their self-aggrandizing behavior would suffer. Their power, they would take a hit in power. The market would act as a check on their power, as a matter of fact. So that's a really good point. Grant, what do you think? And Matt, and we'll get to Matt after that.
I think that of course it's a political game. If anything, any politician supports that openly is a political game. And if it's 6 million people that get to become a voter tomorrow, of course they're gonna be like, yes, come on in, come on. What do you want? You want free welfare? You want housing? You want school? Like, you want to be a citizen? And none of it is a job.
Right.
It's all government programs. It's all, let's create a government program to reform immigration. That does not. They don't want to reform immigration. They want to pay immigrants.
Right. I have a good idea for that, for immigration. How about capitalism? Yeah. Get rid of everything. We'd have if you got rid of the welfare state and you had a pure free market here, illegal immigration, we wouldn't even be discussing it. We would not even be talking about it. I guarantee you. Mm-hmm. They would be more than welcome here by everybody, by everyone, and no one will bring that up. Who talks about it? Infuriating. But I actually have to go. If you guys want to stay on air, well, I guess I'd have to start the broadcast. But I got to go to dinner.
We'll go because you have to go to your.
That you as host, Will.
Yeah, because Kevin can't do it. I mean, look at that. Look at his Sandlot hat.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Kevin's in Malibu right now.
Go ahead. Do we have another question, Kevin?
The first half of the show was sponsored by Moosehead Dry Ice, Canadian's best beer at 6% strong beer liquor.
Oh, let me ask you, Kevin. How long are you on vacation? A month?
Are you still in Canada?
It's open-ended. It's probably.
I mean, oh my God.
Open-ended. That's a second home. That's a second home.
That's the second home. How many homes do you have?
Confirmed.
No, this isn't the second home. This is fourth or fifth home. But
how rich are you?
and also, we have the latter half of the program was sponsored by Ardbeg, which is a quality scotch.
What's your checking account look like?
Checking?
Yeah, my checking account has literally $953 in it right now, and that's for everything. That's my worth. That's my net worth.
I don't have accounts. I have banks.
Oh, okay. You are a white male, so you have privilege banks.
There's way too much privilege for me right now.
There's so much privilege checking.
We're all idiots.
You know, well, FDIC insurance only insures $250,000 a bank, so he has to have like 20 different bank accounts.
20, man! Yeah. Don't be so modest for Kevin. 20. His Swiss accounts though are outrageous.
I'm renting a house with my friends from Canada. This is not my fourth or fifth house.
To me, it looks like there's just plywood smashed up against a window in the background. Oh no, yep, it's a plywood house.
Wow,
nice. Dude, you're rich. Look at that guy you pay to sit there. How much do you pay him? How much does he earn?
There's nothing. That's my best friend's son.
Yeah, your best friend's son's making a ton of money.
There he is, my best friend from college.
I would like to know how much money he makes to hang out with you.
But let me you just yell
at me. Minimum wage. I bet they're illegal immigrants, and you probably pay them $1 an hour.
Probably, yeah. Probably take over.
He came from Canada to the United States, went to college, and took his education back home. And you know what he's doing with it? He's coming back here on vacation.
He is, huh?
Damn it!
So he's sending his money back home. Oh God!
But he's bringing it back here.
Yeah, to Canada. He should keep it here in America. If you want to be American, keep your money here.
You gotta pay American taxes.
But guys, I'm gonna sign off.
I forgot. Last year they came here. I forget.
All right. Follow the modern libertarian. He didn't? So he owes America money. Great. This guy, I don't like this guy at all.
He just defaulted on him.
Follow the modern libertarian, and we are capitalists.
Sean Stone, I got a bite.
Follow Unbiased America. It's a great page. Kevin does an excellent job. I do better. Matt Palumbo, follow Being Classically Liberal. Please buy his books. They're really, really good. And Grant's a great writer. Read his stuff. Follow the Modern Libertarian. He always posts it there. And follow the Analytical Conservative and the Socratic Catholic. Those are very good pages. Also, I'm at Unbiased America. Duh. You know, everybody knows I'm there. And have a good night. Thanks for watching.
Later.
Wait, what about
the question I got from what he said?
I wouldn't have said it.
I wouldn't have said it that way, okay? But what he's saying is essentially we don't know who's here. And that's the most accurate statement I've heard. Everyone's, they're people that want jobs Americans don't want. Or they're here for work. We're talking about immigrants in the abstract. We don't know why they're here.
Even the immigrants that want to come here and work, like the entrepreneurial ones from Europe, it's like impossible for them to get here because of chaos that they've caused.
Want to say that we know wholesale why immigrants want to. We do not know. I don't know. We don't know who's coming here. We could tell in pre-1914 who was coming here. They were screened. They were checked for diseases. Do you have a phone number? Do you have an address? Who's paying for you? Are you going to become a public charge? So on and so forth. We don't have that anymore. Kevin, we can talk about the economics of immigration, but again, to my point, we still don't know who's coming here and why. Kevin, what are your thoughts on Trump in general in the race? Do you think he stirs things up? Do you think he makes the other Republican candidates talk about issues perhaps the mainstream media shies away from? What do you think?
First of all, is there like reverb or anything on my voice? Because I took my headphones out.
You're good.
No.
All right. Trump's a joke. I mean, but what he has going for him is he's a populist. He says things that people generally want to hear, what he thinks people want to hear. He's very good at getting people to actually listen to him because nobody knows what he's going to say. Because of that, he gets a lot of the microphones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of Unbiased America Live. We're back with our normal panel. We do not have a guest tonight. As a matter of fact, actually, we have a guest because Kevin's been fired, and now he's just a guest. But he's here. He has a really long brim hat on, like the kid in Sandlot. But we're happy to have him. Also, we're here with Grant Phillips, who writes for Modern Libertarian. You came up with some stuff this week that was pretty good. Okay. And we are capitalists. We'll talk about your piece a little bit later. We'll get into that. Also, we're here with Matt Palumbo, who wrote a book called In Defense of Classical Liberalism, and you have a chapter on our topic that we're going to talk about, which is immigration, right, Matty?
Yep. Corey actually wrote it, but I mean, obviously familiar with the arguments.
Okay, so Corey wrote it. It's in your book. And we're also here with Kevin Ryan, the purveyor of Unbiased America Live, and Josie Wales will be what is it called? Video bombing?
Yeah.
Video bombing the show because we're here for a friend's birthday. There she is. Say hi, Josie. You came out with a piece this week. What was it called? You don't remember the name, right?
Yeah.
The name.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's on.
I pissed off the internet.
She made the internet mad.
Because gay couples are married and Christian.
Yeah, because of it was a lesbian couple.
Yeah, it was lesbian.
A lesbian couple sued a Christian couple that didn't want to bake. Was it a
bake a cake?
Bake a cake for them. So
and they were sued, and the lesbian couple won.
So they were sued, and the lesbian
Foundation did a report that looked at. It was a very controversial report that looks at the costs and benefits of amnesty for the existing illegal immigrant population, and it concluded that by the end of the period at which they were looking, there would be a negative impact of $160 billion a year. That's a negative impact of illegal immigration. Now, the report itself was controversial, and it got there was a lot of blowback from people saying it left certain things out and included too many other things. Really, the point is not so much the conclusion of that report as it is people need to really take a look at what the costs and benefits of immigration are today to America. Illegal immigration, unregulated immigration, because if you don't look at that, you really don't have any idea whether or not opening the borders is a good thing or a bad thing. Like in the 1800s, it was unequivocally a good thing to have labor come home. We were supplied with labor, and they were supplied with income, and that was it. And the benefit to society was the fruits of their labor. Now, with all the programs that the government heaps upon people, it's impossible to tell whether it's a benefit anymore.
So
if the one thing that Trump's getting is the fact that he's raising this issue, then yeah, I'll agree with you.
So you're advocating a rational model, a cost-benefit analysis, taking into account today's welfare state and how prices are allocating resources, meaning minimum wage, so on and so forth. I mean, basically what we're getting is the most unskilled from Mexico come across the border, and most of them are priced out of the work
in front of his face. That could be in front of a more serious candidate, like Rand Paul, Marco Rubio.
I haven't heard much from Rand Paul over the past couple of weeks. Have you?
No, I haven't, and but he's got his own separate issues. But to stay on the issue of Trump, I mean, he's going to take away a lot of the attention just by saying things that are outrageous, out of left field. And that's
Kevin, let me stop you for a second. He did bring up an issue that's important, though, in politics, and certainly going to be important in the next in the next election cycle. Why are people focused more on Donald Trump than the issue of illegal aliens entering the country? We don't know who's here. I hear a lot of people mock, oh, he wants a wall put up. Well, mock the wall to the Israelis that put a wall up and saw suicide bombers drop by 99%. I mean, people will mock these things. They dismiss them without actually creating any argument. I'm not agreeing with wholesale with what Trump said. What I'm saying is he does have an argument insofar as we do not know who's coming here. We do not know why they're coming here. But a lot of politicians make it out as though they do know why, and certainly libertarians do. Do you think he has any sort of point as to, I'm all for open immigration. I want to see people come here and free flow, like labor participate. You know, in economics, a free flow to labor is a good thing. But I don't know that that's happening. I can't say definitively that I do know that that's happening.
Well, that assumes that America isn't anywhere near a free market right now, which we are obviously are not.
Yes.
And people that come here, a few years ago, the Heritage found
a couple won, and they said that they were mind raped or something.
Mentally raped.
Mentally raped. Yes.
So, rape.
There's that. Anyway, I wanted to start. Donald Trump made some comments this week about illegal immigrants, or illegal aliens, is what their legal name is. And God forbid you say that now, when you're a racist. But let's start with Donald Trump first of all. Every Republican this week has made it their point to trash Donald Trump as much as possible. Every Democrat has as well. The Republicans piled on because they follow the drummer boy, which is the Democrat Party. I'm not saying that I'm in lockstep with what Donald Trump said. I'm just saying that political correctness is it's overwhelming here. Grant, let's talk about Donald Trump in the campaign in general. Yeah. Do you think it stirs up the campaign in a good way? Do you think it's a negative? Why do you think so many Republicans are out there attacking him rather than talking about the issues?
I think it's a good thing for him in the primaries because his base probably isn't very politically correct, and I don't think a lot of conservatives are really politically correct. I think it's more of a left-leaning thing. And while I don't agree with him that immigration is necessarily a problem, I think he stressed more that illegal immigration is a problem, right. Which I agree with.
To be fair, he means illegal immigration.
Yeah, which I agree with, and I like how he said some stuff, maybe a little emotional, whatever, but he stood by what he said. He didn't apologize. Right. He's like, sorry if it offended you, but it's
right.
But
okay.
He didn't back down. Like he cut all the deals and everything. He was like, fine, leave me if you don't like me.
This is the impression